Hey guys, welcome back. This is Bimzycodes, and in this lesson we're going to be going over part 2 of the user interface tutorial. So let's first make sure this is disabled, our win message panel by default when we load this scene up. And then what we're going to want to do is create a HUD Manager script. So let's go create HUD Manager, and once this compiles we're going to throw this HUD Manager onto this win message. Actually no, we're going to put it onto this HUD. Once it compiles, all right, there we go. So we've got our HUD Manager script on the heads-up display. Let's go ahead and open that in our game. So you'll notice straight away we want to grab our public text, not text alignment, just text, and we're going to call this score or lives text. It should throw us errors for now because we have to actually import Unity UI, so that's fine for now. We'll do that in a second. Score text, and then we're also going to need what's that last one? Win message text. And if we just hover over text here, we should be able to go to the right hand side and using Unity Engine UI. So that'll add this using statement here, which lets us use all of the user interface methods that Unity provides. So let's also create our public game object, and that's going to be our win panel. We'll call it win panel. All right, so let's jump back into the scene and assign those variables. Back in the Unity scene here, let it compile, and you'll notice straight away we've got all that stuff going. So let's, not the lives text, it's the lives amount text that we want to be updated on the fly. So lives amount, score amount, message panel is the game object that we need to set active, and then we also need our win message text. Perfect. Let's jump back into the code. Okay, so getting started, let's jump into our player script. So the player is where we're going to be updating our lives and our score from. So the first thing we want to do is create a private HUD Manager, because we want to grab that instance of the HUD Manager that's storing all of our variables. So let's just call it HUD Manager. And let's initialize that. Actually, I'm going to call it Manager HUD so we don't start with a capital. That's just probably good practice, more legible that way. And then we're going to want to set that equal to find. So game object, at the start of our game, we're going to call gameObject.find. Now we could do this with a tag, which might be more efficient, but for now we're just going to do it with the string of the name of the game object we're finding, which is HUD. And then we're going to want to get component HUD Manager. Now it's pretty much a guarantee that this HUD Manager is going to be on the HUD game object. If it isn't, then we've done something wrong with the game design of our game. We set up this HUD Manager game object incorrectly. So now when we update our lives, so when our lives gets reduced, we want to actually go to our lives over here, and we want to grab lives text dot text and set it equal to lives. So that lives is actually an integer, so we want to call .toString to convert it to the string format that this method takes. And we want to do the same for our score over here. So score equals score.toString. So score text. Now I think that's the only place this is being used. Lives and score. And then finally, we also do actually in our update, or in our start method rather, want to set them initially as well. So you don't have to rely on the fact that the initial values are correct in our game. We just want to set them to whatever the defaults are. So that should work for us in the game now. And the next thing we're going to want to implement is this win message and win panel functionality. So to do this, let's go into our Game Manager class. This is where we're going to be doing our reset. So let's handle all of the functionality in this class over here. So let's grab this snippet of code from our player and just copy it straight into here because we need most of this stuff. So we've set up our Manager HUD again. And what we want to do is when we want to load this scene and sort of reset the game, we actually want to, instead of calling this load scene straight away. We want to set up something called a coroutine, which is basically a method that'll offset the load scene functionality by X amount of seconds. Now, coroutines are super helpful, and we can use them for lots of different purposes, but I'll just give us a little example of that now. So private void, and what we're going to want to call this one probably is load after seconds, or delay. Now we could pass the delay in, but let's just make that a magic number, which is probably bad practice, but so we're going to load after delay. So load after delay is going to be called at the end of this method, and what we're going to want to do is return an enumerable here, load after delay, and actually we could pass the delay in here. So we're going to say delay, and let's call that to be, I don't know, 2 seconds. Let's call 2 seconds. So we're going to have that win message appear for 2 seconds on the screen. Reset, we'll do load after delay, manager HUD. So when we reset, we want to set up the text. So what was the text again? Win message text, and we're going to actually need to know the string that we're passing in here. So let's say win message. So when we call this, we're going to pass our win message into this method. Text.text is equivalent to win message. And then we're also going to want to enable the game object that we have stored. So that panel game object. So win panel dot active is equal to true. And then in our coroutine here, we're going to want to yield. So actually this is depreciated. So we want to use something called set active. So this was an older method we could do, which is adjusting the property. But I believe that Unity actually has improved their functionality of this, and we use the method called set active now. So both would work, but one's older and depreciated. So let's do a yield return new wait for seconds. Now what this does is we're going to pass in the delay here. Oops, not default. We're going to pass in the delay here. And what it's going to do is it's going to wait for whatever this delay is before executing the next step of code, which would be our load scene. So we're going to enter our reset method, set up our win message, enable the panel, then we're going to load after delay, wait for 2 seconds, and then the scene's going to reload so we can play again. Now the last thing we need to do is find all references of this reset method and correct them, which apparently we don't have any. Here we go. Reset, and what are we going to do in game over? We're going to set it to game, or you lose, rather. You lose, exclamation mark, and I'll capitalize that, even though I think the font is already capitalized, but that's fine. And we'll do you win, exclamation mark. All right, let's jump back into our game and see if this works. Just let it compile. We should see our text updating on the top left-hand side of the game. So let's grab a burger. Our lives will decrease. Let's find a watermelon. Watermelon. Now these assets are actually sort of hard to see, so we might increase the scale of those in a later tutorial just to improve the player experience. You lose. 2 seconds later, we reset the game. No, we don't. So what's going on here? Seems like our coroutine isn't working. So I've actually figured out what was going wrong. So if we go back into our game manager class, we're not calling our method properly. So we need to start the coroutine. So let's do that now. So we want to call this start coroutine method. I always find it hard spelling coroutine, actually. It's one of those words for me. And then we want to change this IEnumerable, because I also messed this part up, to IEnumerator. So IEnumerator. And this should now work for us. So we've got our delay being passed into there, and if we go back into our game, let it compile again, scene view. If we hit play, this should work, hopefully. You lose, and let's see, 2 seconds, we reset the game. Perfect. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.